cool, I'd wear the heck out of that, bro. You know, maybe I'll hopefully get one in time for MSI.
We'll figure that out
there, you know, and travel there. As teams have gone through their bans, no surprises on the side of TES. We're seeing first pick Aurora come through for WB.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the point that I made going out of the game from, you know, last game is, okay, maybe they can take Ash on blue side. Top Esports, they've read me like a book, gone, hey, no chance. We're banning that away, but I think that Aurora, definitely a very solid pick that they can take early doors, gives them a good amount of damage, and also gives a little bit of flexibility as well. Could be Karis, could be Cube that's going to take this pick.
Really curious if we're going to see an early mid pick for TES, or they're going to wait it out and try to get the Taliyah counter pick that everybody's been so happy about. See if Team WE opts into some movement, you know, get those micro stuns off as they follow up their Vi with a Misfortune, who, glad to see, is starting to rise to prominence a little bit more. I mean, she's not as utility focused and just dumps out damage.
Yeah, I mean, I have a personal gripe with Misfortune.
Tell me about it.
And I just think that if you pick tanks into the Misfortune, you tend to win.
Yes.
However, so far we haven't seen that from WE, and with the Misfortune being taken so early, I do think this is an opportunity for them to try and punish it. However, so far they've picked three non-tank champions, which is what I'm going to say, which gives Misfortune a little bit of breathing room. But equally, Wukong plus Aurora plus Renekton, their job is kill AD carry. So there's a dichotomy there, right? Of, okay, I can probably kill these champions, but equally, they can also probably kill me.
Yeah, I'm just gonna say, all right, JackeyLove, I'm sorry, bro. We are going to try and come after you all game long. Gnar is going to be the pickup here for 369. We saw a couple of different hovers, Taliyah being one of them. I mean, I imagine if you're Team WE, you're taking, you know, Poppy off the board, and you're taking Taliyah off the board, because those two champions would just be game ruining to play against.
Yeah, the Poppy support could go pretty hard. Let's keep it a stack. However, I would like to see maybe Taliyah left open. Lies. Okay.
Listen, bro.
You're
makes sense.
You're clued in. Game one, I was ready in the comms. You're ready in the comms today.
Dude, you know, you listen. You gotta just be ready, so that way everybody gets their shine and everybody gets.
Well, there's the Poppy.
It fits in so nicely, bro. You know.
Somehow coming away from Top Esports.
No, that makes sense. You know, you shut out Gnar, shut out Vi. All right, I'm with it.
So what we're missing then from top to begin with, they're probably going to look to match the mid lane here. Oh, well, I wasn't expecting a Vlad to match mid lane, but they did match the mid lane. So all of a sudden, from this composition that has a lot of really solid early game power with the Misfortune, the Vi, the Gnar, we've also now got insane scaling in the late game from Vladimir. So Top Esports not now just going to be a one-trick pony for this game. They have got tools in their arsenal to facilitate late game team fights.
You know, I'm really surprised at the amount of Vladimir that we've seen. I mean, this is a champion that is not really a sexy pick, that you haven't seen for a long time, hasn't really had many changes over the course of time, and doesn't really seem like the meta has shifted crazy enough to be like, oh my god, we're in a Vlad meta. But I mean, this is going to be the third game he's been picked up here in the first week, and this is only game 2 of a Fearless draft, which, you know, you'd maybe expect him to be quite a bit later. I want to know, why are these teams picking Vladimir? You have any inkling?
I mean, this might be a gut check off of game 1 where he's gone,
Facts.
Okay, Karis can't punish me on the Aurora to where I play Vladimir.
That's crazy.
And he thinks he can just scale up, and I think that's a valid thing that you can do as a player if you're going to gut check how this matchup goes. Great, you know, perfect. I think I can take the Vlad here. You do that. But equally, I highlighted that they were missing something for the late game. They were missing that emphasis more so on damage in the late stages of the game, and they've now got that. Vlad also really excels at teams that kind of want to come into him. Obviously, with the pool, you don't have to struggle to get those Tides of Blood procs onto multiple people if they're running away from you. Instead, when they're running into you, it becomes quite significantly easier. So I do quite like the Vladimir here specifically, even if the Aurora matchup could be quite challenging.
Yeah, I guess that's why it makes it just such a sick pick, you know? Vladimir and a Gnar just running roughshod in fights where it's like, yeah, all right, Wukong, are you sure you want to go in? Okay, Renekton, are you sure you want to go in? Because it's going to just be a very bad time. So really loving what is put together here by TES. And on the side of Team WE, listen, they have go buttons themselves. If they catch TES off guard, they got go buttons, they got damage. They're going to be able to stack up some kills. So I really like that there's a more proactivity with this team composition in the early goings.
There isn't that emphasis on getting jungle to level 6 either, as much as Cyclone is incredibly powerful.
He can do he can do both.
He can do both. The Wukong can be in lanes early on and can try and punish people who have stepped a little bit too far forward. So we'll have to wait and see whether or not those punishments do end up coming through, or whether we get to see once again Creme Kanavi kind of run the show. I do think that when you've got Vi Vladimir, you are weaker than you were with Nocturne Ori as a duo. So just the relative... Wow.
What is that?
Okay, that's incredible. But the relative strength of this duo specifically does go down. And hold the phone. When was the last time somebody didn't take TP mid lane? Creme has got Ghost.
Bro, okay. It
probably wasn't that long ago, but...
Yeah, alright, so that is going to put a pretty interesting wrinkle onto things, especially because Tianzhen is going to be able to get to this mid lane, right? And if you can manage to force Creme to back, I mean, listen, that is a huge win for WE. You don't necessarily need to get a kill there in order for Karis to get ahead, so something to watch out for as you're in the early going. Just a lot of wards placed down, but much ado about nothing otherwise.
So there's a really cool interaction actually between the Vlad and the Aurora, which we may yet end up seeing. So as Creme is just taking autos for free. Obviously Vladimir pool stops you from being targetable, but if the first part of the Q from the Aurora hits,
pull it back.
You can't pull it back, but it comes back anyway
if
he's in pool. So it's like a weird dichotomy of the two.
Yeah, you know,
a mix of both.
It's got weird in your abilities, and does weird interactions with Vladimir. As we saw WE make a nice aggressive invade there, forcing Kanavi away and to start on his top side with a low HP. As Vampire looking to posture here with Braum. Feels like many players have fallen victim to early Braum passive.
No, I mean, so much has already happened in this early game, to be honest with you. So, WE sacrificed the first 3 melee creeps, which means that they are going to get level 2 a lot later. However, they have got bot side control, so JackeyLove and Crisp can't actually engage and look to punish that like they probably should do. Now, this won't mean too much right now, but I think that as the game gets just a little bit later and the lane extends a little bit further beyond, we should see Crisp and JackeyLove really start to hammer home an advantage pre that level 6 marker. Also, obviously Kanavi very much delayed on his jungle clear. He's going to be feeling the ramifications of that for the most part of this game. Looking at that top lane as well, Cube is pushing in 369, so there's an opportunity to prevent Kanavi from getting any form of cross map going on, especially since Karis also is pushing in that mid wave, trying to collapse on the Vi is definitely possible.
Oh, that was a nice heads-up move there by Kanavi to stay outside of vision of Cube. So Cube says, hey, your blue buff is still up, but no sign of Kanavi. Good ward to put down, so Tianzhen will be spotted out on that, and Kanavi will be alerted if he heads to the top side.
Okay, so, I mean, the red's going to loop around and just picks it up. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
So, the blue buff gets picked up anyway, and at this stage in the game, as Tianzhen, you have to be thinking, well, what actually can the Vi be doing? We cleared her top bot side, so she looked onto the top side, but other than that, she's actually got nowhere to be. Odds are she's probably gone into the top side of our blue jungle anyway to figure out what form of camps they can take. But the point being, she's delayed in doing that. You can already see Tianzhen picking up this crowd, whereas the Vi just now beginning to move over. And there's going to be a little bit of a window where we will see Tianzhen with a timer on the map.
Well, Karis isn't actually able to stick around for Tianzhen coming in and dealing some damage to Creme, but he is forced to burn that ghost.
Okay, and just pulled as well, so, I mean, depends how Karis wants to play this in the big wave. Nothing really to speak of, but Okay, a little bit of an advantage then picked up. Ghost taken down and teleport advantage now mitigated for Karis as he uses it to get back into the mid lane. The question becomes, what does Creme end up missing for this recall? Without that teleport, you have to wait and see. And I also love this purchase to pick up to begin with for Creme. Would have been even better if he'd have got them before the Ghost was used, but such is the way the game has gone. But the Lucidity Boots reducing your cooldowns on your summoner spells as well, something that's going to be incredibly valuable for a Vladimir.
Yeah, especially when they're combat impactful. So everybody loves ghosting around at Mach 5. Let's pretend that, you know, that's not false. As we're going for flashes here. Crisp will get stunned up. He's ignited too. Taeyoon is just trying to land those Qs. Vampire knocked away. A couple more auto attacks. JackeyLove cleansed the slow. Nice heads up play there. It's Tianzhen looking to slide his way in. The question is, can they stop them from backing? He's trying to get close. The back is not going to get completed. JackeyLove is stranded under this turret. It's bad news.
Yep, lamb for the slaughter, I'm afraid, and I don't know how far that bot wave is off of coming in, but trying to get JackeyLove out of this situation is not going to be possible.
They got to make a play soon.
Extra kills though.
All right, it's going to be first blood going over to Tianzhen. Now the question is, can Kanavi do anything about it? Creme's route wasn't fantastic. It looks like the play will just go to WE.
Yeah, really good play from the bot lane, honestly. Vampire and Taeyoon deciding that they can fight this 2 versus 2, despite the fact that they sacrificed the experience early on as well. They were able to find that play largely independently. Yes, Tianzhen is the one who benefits the 400 gold, but really well played overall. This bot side of the Rift, not something I was expecting to be talking about going so well.
Yeah, especially for the side of WE, right? And I mean, you know, Vampire for... you know, everything people have said last year. I mean, listen, he looked really good on that play. I mean, he did everything he needed to do. They were both so in sync. It's great to see.
Okay, both cooldowns used there by Karis, not on Creme, and Creme quite rightly so. Just going for at least an ulti.
Yeah, you know, Hemo play heals you up a little bit. If you can't get any extra damage on, you know, that's about all that happens. Is TES heads over to this dragon. The question is, can Taeyoon and Vampire actually advance on it? Doesn't look like they'll be able to. It's just a trade of objectives here.
So Void Grubs gives 1 mark on that feat of strength for WE. The Drake going to give 1 mark for top esports as well. So a little trade here to begin with. Obviously WE find themselves first blood, so a little bit more pressure on the top esports side to find first turret. We'll see whether or not they're able to get it, especially without those Void Grubs as well. It's good to see WE mitigating those feats and the power that they may well give later on.
Yeah, especially to somebody like Vladimir is a good example. I mean, getting those feats, the buff for Lucidity Boots would be really strong for Vladimir, right? Now, I'll say this. I haven't had games last long enough to be able to actually get them, but I believe the Lucidity Boots one would be a really big boot.
I mean, yeah, if you're able to pick those up, there's lots of questions about how
JackeyLove.
they are.
Oh no, he goes up a little bit too far. Takes a lot of damage.
In the wings.
But is, yeah, being protected here by Crisp. JackeyLove is just being whittled down more and more.
Kanavi is off on the side here, looking to maybe go for a dive.
He's level 6 now.
He's indeed level 6. Taeyoon, with that E, should be able to Arcane Shift so that the Vi doesn't land on top of you when the channel finishes, and there's not enough support, nobody nearby, even Creme moving down as well.
Yeah, this is going to be tough. Question is, what's going to happen? Ezreal going to be targeted out here. He's going to barrier up, but it's just far too much damage. They managed to get a kill out of it, though, but the bullet time will finish him off. Now it's Karis. What can he do? He'll at least make it a 2-for-2 trade, and so close to getting Creme.
Yeah, and I mean, that's honestly still worthwhile for top esports. It's very close, but the fact that Taeyoon and Vampire end up losing out, and more specifically that Taeyoon loses out there, that's really detrimental for them. What we did get to see on the other side of the rift, though, is that Tianzhen made his way into that top side of the jungle and lit it up like a Christmas tree, so hopefully that can yield some fruit a little bit later on. Replay on how all of this went down. To begin with, Kanavi tanks a turret shot they probably shouldn't have, but this Unbreakable just keeping 3 members back for the most part. The presence of Vampire there, honestly, not particularly awful. And then JackeyLove obviously going to fall here. Creme able to flash out of the damage from Karis' E is the incredibly important part there, because he would have fallen had that connected. So 2 for 2 on the bot side. Kills for the Aurora, kills for the Misfortune, and overall a relatively even trade that I do think just slightly favours our current favourites top.
That's the bit of a problem with Vladimir's ultimate. Takes a little bit for that damage to actually, land onto these members. And, keep in mind, one of the season changes that has kind of gone a little under the radar and people don't really think about too much. Turrets dealing more damage for situations just like that.
They hurt, right? Like, you have to be perfect with the juggling. And now you've got to recalculate how much you think turrets are going to do, because they do just hurt a lot. And I think that was sort of a attempt from our Riot friends to make sure that snowballing wasn't as prolific, making sure that those dives aren't as easy to accomplish. But even still, you can see top there getting away with a couple of kills, not the worst thing in the world. But for a game currently that is dead even, talk about the way that these two teams are going to scale. Obviously, the Vlad is going to be a menace late game, but Aurora as well, a champion that deals phenomenal amounts of damage as we move later into the game. And I also think that Ezreal scales with how easy it is for him to get killed, essentially. Now, in this instance, there's a Vi on the other side of the map. There's a Alistair, there's a Vladimir who are going to be heat-seeking the Ezreal almost. But I do like the value that Ezreal is going to provide as we move later into this game versus the Misfortune.
And he scales with skill too, and Taeyoon was looking pretty good on this Ezreal so far. These grubs are going to be up in 10 seconds. As you see, JackeyLove has sprinted toward the mid lane. Taeyoon is on the bottom side right now, and he's going to be met by the Snar. So it'll still be a 4v4 if there's going to be any sort of contest here, but it looks like Kanavi is ready to get in and start these up.
Yeah, the important part as well is that 369 actually has TP, so he needs to join the fight. He can.
Vampire moving in. As one will be smited away, but the rest of them look like they'll be claimed by Team WE. See if Kanavi really wants to get cheeky and go back in. He's sitting on this blast plant. We'll just take it to move to the side and get it.
Yeah, and at this stage then, it's inconsequential who picks up the final one. Nobody's going to get the feat of strength, but WE will take it for that little bit of extra damage to the turrets that the 5th grub is going to provide. But already with that sacrifice from top, they're the ones that get to move down to the bot side a little bit quicker. And they're the ones that get to set up for this dragon that they've already got one of, that they can maybe look to try and find a second.
See that Kanavi is down here. It's going to be met by Karis in just a moment here. Already just trying to chunk out the jungler here, get him a little low. 369 is now in mini form, but ultimate used by the Vi, and Karis is going to just go between worlds to slide on out of there.
Yep, nicely executed from Karis there. One of those Aurora mechanics that we've started to see become a lot more dominant is just, oh, I'm caught, let me press R and escape. But played out well. Going into a Drake fight with no Aurora ulti, but no Vi ulti as well, so we'll have to see which team is going to end up being the beneficiaries in that trade. I do think that that means that the Ezreal in this case is going to get to play a lot safer, so it might be something to keep our eye on.
Well, backs have just come out from Team WE here, as Tianzhen has gotten his Sundered Sky, as has Kanavi. So the TS being first to the map here, and 369, a lot of plates. See if he wants to go back and spend his gold too. As he has that teleport up, it means that he will be able to show up for the dragon fight.
Yeah, and that's something that, so far we've not particularly seen a lot of, are those fights down on the bot side, a little bit of skirmishing on the top side to jostle for those Krugs and for the Void Grubs more so, excuse me, as Kanavi blast cones over, immediately retreats, quite rightly so. But
jump scare
in the mid lane as well, JackeyLove has that Bloodthirster finished, whereas no Trinity Force for Taeyoon. It's a slight discrepancy between our two AD carries. Mid lane as well, not quite found the first item to come through, so our power so far really is going to be in the jungler's hands, and Kanavi, I think, at this stage in the game, might well be the strongest player on the Rift.
Good news for WE, despite Taeyoon not having that Trinity Force. They were able to slide in and take this dragon, so they've knotted themselves up at 1 dragon apiece. So, TES not able to really get that dragon stacking going, and it looked like they kind of wanted it, but
so that's
ultimately decided it wasn't worth it.
A second, then, feat of strength, or a second mark, a notch on the objective for WE. Just need one more dragon or the Rift Herald to go into their back pocket before they can finish off feats, but Top Esports so far not having the same power, the same presence in the early game that they had in game number 1, and that in itself is a big win for WE. They should be very happy with the way that they've conducted themselves these first 14 minutes. I think that by and large, with the gold being pretty much even across the board, I'm very happy with how they've dealt themselves and how that conduct has gone. It's definitely an improvement from game number 1.
They're doing a pretty good job. You just worry that they are not going to be able to turn it on and try and take advantage of TES before this Vladimir starts going crazy. As an example, look at this bottom lane play they're going to make onto Karis here. Kanavi's waiting for Crisp to come through, and they will combo out Karis. It's going to be a kill going to the Vladimir.
And they just lost track of where Top Esports could be there, unfortunately. There were pings going into the top side jungle of Top Esports, sort of question marking where are they? They're out buff? What's happening? And unfortunately they were ganking their bot laner and just stepping out. I mean, not even stepping out, but being too far forward when the rest of your team wasn't quite there. Cost Karis his life in this instance. Worth mentioning, Hemo Plague going down. The fighting on this top side now as Cube charges away.
That's it's going to be pretty rough for WE because, as we were just saying, they need to start making plays before Creme gets a little too far ahead. And given the fact he's already 2-0-1, it's not looking so good. We haven't really seen Tianzhen, get in there and use a big Cyclone and do anything to throw off TES. And I think that's just a large fear of how good TES is in close quarters combat.
So this is also going to be a very important game for Crisp, in my opinion, as well. We talked about the power that Miss Fortune has when she's not playing versus tanks, but equally how difficult it can be for her when she's not playing versus tanks, because they all just try and kill her. Crisp, this case, has got really one job, as to peel JackeyLove, right? There's nobody else on the team that he needs to be peeling for, because the top three, they're all going to be diving forward. And if you can keep Renekton and Wukong away from JackeyLove, that's a secondary carry that can absolutely rip through this Renekton, this Wukong, and make them pay.
You're absolutely right. That's a great point. As everybody loves when you're playing Miss Fortune, you get an opportunity to set your feet and really dig in with your ultimate. See if JackeyLove will get any of those opportunities. Rift Herald has spawned, and immediately Tianzhen sprints up there to start it up. Crisp warding it out. Ping's coming down. Kanavi also making a beeline, even using his Q to try to get there a little bit faster. Creme also on a rotation to the mid lane here.
Worth mentioning that giving these things up, not the worst thing in the world, but looks like WE, they're going to be fought for.
Oh, JackeyLove is stuck in the back of the pit right now. He's going to have to flash over the wall. The Cyclone knockup is there. A nice dodge out. And that just means Crisp is stuck. Here comes the bullet time, but it gets blocked by Braum, and now Creme is in the middle of the fight trying to do something, anything. Kanavi cannot secure, and now he's got to flash away. WE just able to take that fight pretty easily. JackeyLove, what happened?
Yeah, just gets sort of roped in there almost to try and find a fight onto Tianzhen, and unfortunately gets caught in the pit as a consequence. Has to finish flash to get out of there. Crisp used Unbreakable Will, but didn't end up flashing. I think saving that for a future fight. Definitely something that they can look to abuse and look to use onto certain targets who may be unexpecting it. But that's feats of strength going over to WE. Looks like Top Esports, though, not going to be dissuaded by this. Able to take themselves that top turret down, and that's going to open up the rest of that top side, get an even longer lane that the Vladimir and the Gnar are going to really love to work in.
Yeah, it's crazy. Things went so well for WE there, and they're still down about 2,000 gold. I mean,
yeah.
Feats of strength, 70% win rate. My left foot, bro. Like, this does not look like a 70% win rate game.
No, unfortunately, it may well end up being that it isn't. But what you can see is that with those Void Grubs, WE are looking to do something, right? Taking down a turret, trying to find themselves a little bit of gold to close up that gold gap. And that's certainly something that's, again, more positive and is something that we didn't really see from them in the last game. They've also still got the Herald in the back pocket of Tianzhen, so their gold power play, let's say, isn't over from that Rift Herald. It's just going to take a little bit of a longer time to try and impact itself.
I wonder if there's a world where they'll be able to get it down mid lane and then maybe ride it to the top lane too, because those turrets are so low. But that's a story for another fight, as Meganar is flying through. However, he is going to be mini by the time he gets here. Now, TES has to fall back because of the charge on to the mid lane. JackeyLove gonna bullet time to clear out the wave, clear out the Herald, but this turret is on its last leg. Somebody's got to hit it, and they're going all the way in. Creme trying to do his thing and pump out damage. Karis dies on the backside, but there's plenty of knockups. 369 trying to get in the middle of things. Kanavi to the back line. Cube is tanking damage, but he's got to flash away, and TES comes away with the fight victory and the objective.
Yeah, they lose tier 1, but they do get the Drake, they do get the fight, and now they're going to look to find a tier 1 of their own. Ezreal wave play not really too high, and Cube does not fancy jumping in to take this wave down. tier 1 for tier 1, fight in favor of top esports and the Dragon as well. Slowly, Yanni, those objectives, they're going more and more in their favor.
It's starting to spill over to them a little bit more, and you know, I think one of the biggest things to talk about is Creme. He didn't really do a whole lot of damage because he's not at that point of the game yet, but Vladimir is so damn scary. Watch him get to the back line in just a couple of moments, and then WE is like, oh god, we're scared.
Yeah, it's a two-pronged approach as Crisp tries to take down Karis and honestly boots him right back in there, but Between Worlds is, well, it's nothing, unfortunately. It was inconsequential, it turned out to be in that fight, but the way that the Vlad went in absorbed so much from WE. It's good to see that they're able to take down the Vladimir. So, I mean, if you're going to use all of your spells on one of the champions, I think that Creme is probably the one to be doing it on. But then you got to see 369, JackeyLove still alive, still kicking, and this Gnar with the Trinity Force into the Black Cleaver. Actually, a very present threat in this game as well. 369 has been, again, a little bit under the radar for the most part. Same for Cube, as they've kind of been handshaking laning phases for the time being, but it looks like 369 is just doing a lot more.
Yeah, the impact's all his to have, especially with Mega Gnar. I mean, we haven't even seen a big Gnar ultimate get used yet. And speaking of big ultimates, I mean, just harkening back to that fight, Tianzhen, you know, when you're cycloning one person, if you're not convincingly far ahead in the game, that's probably not great, as WE are the ones to start up this Otacon. As 369 is in the area, just trying to drive them off a little bit. Otacon does so much damage, this voracious Otacon, as JackeyLove is going to keep it tethered, but decide to head out. He really wanted a piece of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is such a big snowball for whoever gets it, really, to be honest. It is just going to start to push the game much further. As I'm not quite sure why it's not started regenning HP yet, but I assume at some point it will do. So
they should just rip it. No, I mean, obviously they have no idea, but like, this thing is okay. There we go. I mean, it felt like you were almost at a point where you could have just started it up again.
They probably could have done, but they didn't know. They've decided against it, Yanni, which, you know what, fair play.
That's, they don't have God vision like we do.
No, that's very true. Noobs. Imagine.
Yeah. Couldn't be me.
Looking
I
at
got a
the
100% win rate this season, all right?
Yeah, me too, man. I just play with Fog of War off. Have you guys not got that installed?
Duh.
No?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Everybody?
Silly behaviour from the LPL teams, unfortunately. But looking out at these items, though, the breakpoint's currently very favourable for top esports, even though that gold lead only 2,000. You can see 2 items on every single member that needs them.
Obvious.
Yeah, he's short queued there.
Yeah, he's a little too far up, but he manages to get out. I mean, that teleport change, it feels like it is messing up so many players' timing, right? Because I'm sure Karis expected to get there a lot sooner and be able to do something to Kanavi. Now Kanavi is behind enemy lines as this Otacon has been started up. 369 is not there yet, trying to get that Gnar bar up, but he's got his teleport available. Ezreal goes wide. Otacon down to about 7,000 HP, and here comes the Gnar teleport, and it's a deep flank from the bottom lane. WE has spotted it out, but the question is, can you turn on him? Here's Mega Gnar trying to go in. Taeyoon's the one who's caught. They're trying to protect him. Kanavi goes low and goes down, but Creme is ready to do as much damage as he can, but he gets stuffed on the back line, and they walk out of the bullet time. Team WE, a triple kill for Karis.
Yeah, and the Aurora finds 3 in this fight, and that's going to give them this Otacon buff. Unless JackeyLove and Crisp can do anything, but no bullet time. Definitely not going to be easy. They're still looking to fish around, looking to contest these double ups off of the neutral itself. We're going to slowly whittle away at WE. They've got no way of getting on top of them.
It's shunking, and we know that Otacon does quite a bit of damage. As long as TES can just stop this, I'm sure they'll be happy. Cube trying to regen, trying to flank onto JackeyLove, as you said, but JackeyLove spotting that out wisely. This thing is down to about 4,000 HP, and it resets. JackeyLove manages to get away with the cleanse, and now the slice, but no dice, as he can't catch JackeyLove nor Crisp. But Otacon still alive, down to about 6,000 HP and getting lower. Ezreal comes flying in to chunk out Crisp and JackeyLove, but Crisp once again trying to keep his AD carry alive.
Can steal it?
It's low. Can he take it away? Not quite. It's secured by Cube. And how will the rest of the fight go? Because they have GAs. It goes poorly for JackeyLove as he falls, and just a frustration. You can see it.
Such a tense fight around the Otacon there, and almost top esports able to come away with an advantage, but it's WE in this game number 2. Absolutely throwing down Karis. A complete revelation from game number 1 here on the Aurora. finds an exceptional fight around the neutral objective. Now gets to move back out onto the map with Rabadons and those tier 3 Sork shoes. So he's going to be doing so much damage if he's given the space to do so. And let's take a look at how this fight all started. Taeyoon forced to eat away on one side, and the space created by the Cyclone and everybody just in the midst of the Aurora ulti certainly keeps WE very much in this fight and even makes them win it. Worth mentioning there that the observers quite rightly highlighting that the cease and desist used onto a clone of a Wukong as opposed to the Wukong themselves, but as we got to see here, the objective just barely secured. I think it's Cube that ends up finding an auto on it that just barely takes it out. And then JackeyLove flashed on by Karis again, recognized his misfortune. Just used the flash in my face. I can flash in and take her down. Very good heads-up play.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but Kanavi was charging up a Q as well and then flashed, but it ran out. So I believe that's what happened. A really uncharacteristically poor fight out of Kanavi, and that is backbreaking for TES. As they are now the ones on the back foot with the false life buff onto WE, as they're looking to start a fight to take those things off, and already a big double knock up with Karis and JackeyLove in the 1v1, and that's not a fight that JackeyLove is going to win, as he, no, maybe it is! Oh, it is, but the false life buff is too strong. Triple knockup from Crisp, but you can't knock off the fake GAs as WE takes advantage anyway.
And now they're going to walk towards the Baron, Yanni. Didn't think that WE would be anywhere near this position in this game, but they have found themselves with all of the tools to be able to do so. Karis 1v1s JackeyLove on the back of the fight, and Jackie, takes down the Aurora by all means, but only able to get 100 gold for it, and the Aurora is able to go back and defend. Kanavi still alive, still kicking, full HP with smite.
Teleport top side, but there is a teleport coming in from Karis over to the right of Creme. See how this shakes out as Creme will get spotted by him and immediately chunked out. Here comes 369, trying to make it happen. Knocks 2 to the side. Kanavi gets the kill, but Cube is just trying to run interference because the Baron goes down, and Kanavi is running out of HP. Creme trying to do what he can with his ultimate, trying to chunk out Cube, and he will fall. Look at Tianzhen, he's so low, but 369 went mini at the worst time. Creme is able to at least trade out kills, but now where is 369? Can they find him? And they do. Taeyoon will claim nearly 400 gold on him. TES get off a couple of Barons, but there are still 2 members with it.
So it's a 3-for-3 in the fight. The Baron goes the way of WE, and it's Karis and Taeyoon, the 2 members that walk away wearing purple. Overall, this is still favourable for WE, largely because they get so much of an injection of gold from taking down the Baron first of all. But this is a sloppy fight on multiple fronts. It's going to be difficult to try and figure out where all the pieces went down. I think your first port of call is recognizing 369 and Kanavi. They take down Vampire as opposed to working their way towards the Baron and looking for a flip in that case in really any form of fight style, as Creme on this side as well is zoning away for a little bit considerably, but still doesn't quite have that one-shot damage that we're used to seeing from Vladimir's in the late stages of the game. A little bit more time needed for Creme, and 369 again does some great work dealing damage to the front line, but not the carries. And in that fight, it's worth saying Taeyoon, Karis, and honestly in this game, these 2 LCK Challengers promotes have been absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, they have been aces this game for WE, and critically in that fight, Creme's Tides of Blood did not hit Cube, which allowed him to get 369 low enough that he was picked up on the backside. And I mean, Creme, after the hot start he had, he's been stuffed the rest of this game. Shame on me for saying, hey, if you're solo ulting him, it's probably not going well. I mean, WE is immediately recognizing him as the threat. They're tagging him with the Braum passive. Obviously not in that fight, but in prior fights. I mean, this has been really good stuff out of WE in these team fights.
Yeah, now they've got to extend that further, right? This 3k gold lead that they've got the Baron at their backs with still. They've got to try and do a little bit more. They're going to have to break this game open, right? We talked about the fact that Vladimir is going to become a threat a little bit later on. But the way that the Aurora and the Ezreal have been functioning this game, just getting gold into their back pockets is going to be very valuable as well. And the fact that they've got this advantage, definitely going to be something that they can look to work through. I think for top esports, for the time being, trying to avoid these team fights might actually be something to try and work on. You've got a Gnar. I think 369 in the side lane is going to be so unstoppable with this build. He's built very exclusively, it feels like, for a good 1v1 versus Karis, but so far hasn't yet been able to find it. And this Gnar build going into big 5 versus 5s is really, really quite squishy.
WE recognizing well that they need to get in there and prevent TES from getting this soul because, hey, well, it's just a Cloud Soul. Cloud Soul pretty good for TES. Everybody except JackeyLove really will certainly enjoy themselves a Cloud Soul. So we'll see what the move is here as they're jockeying for position, trying to force WE down. Kanavi is on a deep flank here.
But they're looking for him.
To do a whole lot. Yeah, exactly. They know that something's not quite right. Where is Kanavi?
Yeah,
he's in your walls, under your bed. Question
and now
is,
they're saying,
will the boogeyman show up?
Well, let's just go straight towards the main objective. Let's try and take this fight outright. We can't find Kanavi. Well, let's just leave him wherever he is and try and find a fight elsewhere. They started running, and top esports right now, they're just tethering the entirety of WE and making sure that they can't find any form of fight. It's such a give and take that they're playing currently beautifully, but as soon as WE start this Drake, that puts the pressure back onto top esports. Okay, well, we've been hiding in fog of war. We've now got to reveal ourselves.
369 is going to show up. This dragon about 6,000 HP. Ready to go in here is Kanavi. Here's the target. The bullet time is landing and doing a lot of damage, getting people low. Cube targeted on one side. Tianzhen is able to kill Kanavi. The health bars are low. The question is, can they finish off the kills? Tianzhen falls. 369 jumping forward, knocking Cube against the wall, and WE is sent scattered into their own jungle. They're not quite done with this yet. Taeyoon dropping an ultimate, trying to get some kills, but he can't. The health bars are so low. Karis wants to get in there because he knows he can blow somebody up. Does not look like he'll be able to. He's really getting antsy. He wants this, but it's too far away. Soul secured for TES and a bit of a wacky fight, but man, that bullet time did a lot.
Any fight that is not a wash for WE becomes losing in the extended trade. Creme has sustain in his kit, JackeyLove has a Bloodthirster, and if you don't kill those two targets, they will sustain back up. Kanavi here, again, these Vi engages have not been working out. Flashes, doesn't find any connection, instantly knocked up, and again, ulting the Wukong gets taken out very, very quickly, but the saving grace was JackeyLove and Creme in this fight, pumping out about as much damage as you'd like to think they could do. The entirety of that time with the bullet time coming across, despite the fact that Kanavi really flubbed on the engage there. The rest of the team stepped up when needed to, kept the rest of WE at bay. They were able to take the objective off the back of it as well, so that's now Cloud Soul ready for top esports. I'm looking at one person in particular on the mid lane of top who's going to be feeling very, very good at having a Cloud Soul.
I don't know what's going on with Kanavi, man, but I think that if TES wants to win this game, he's got to step up. He's got to play better than what he's been doing. His early game was so good. His game one was great. No, JackeyLove's been caught out, and TES runs away. The teleport coming in for Cube. That is a critical error as WE can do what they want now.
And Vampire there, just with a random ward over the wall from a little bit of time ago, catches out the AD carry.
369 and Kanavi forced away, but Crisp and Creme trying to do what they can. The donut mid and support trying to do what they can as the Baron has been started up. Kanavi is so low though. He has to back. It looks like the call is to just let this go, but 369, a bit of a flank here. About 7,000 HP. Kanavi has finished the recall. TES is in full retreat.
Fancied it a little bit, but decided against it in the end. And now WE walk away with a second Baron of the game in their favour. A lot of gold goes into their back pockets. They've got some good economy turrets that they can take down bot and top as well. Got 700 gold locked away in those if they're able to pick those up. And yeah, Kanavi there with the GA. He might be feeling a little bit better going into those fights later on. But JackeyLove, a player who this game especially has been so quick at using those summoner spells. Second he gets tagged by that Braum Q, should be looking to cleanse, looking to flash, but gets caught out by knockup after knockup and ends up going down without being able to use either.
Yeah, that is a really good pick. Vampire doing a great job. He has had a really good game. He has been very, we haven't talked about him a whole lot, and obviously there was that one fight where JackeyLove got off a really nice bullet time that he couldn't block all of it. But other than that, I mean, Vampire has been playing excellently.
Yep, absolutely. And you know, there's the cubby adage that we had from yesterday's broadcast, which is Braum no hands champ. But I do think that Vampire, just in terms of support play, being in the right place and knowing his job, there's that element of support as well, where just standing in the right position, doesn't matter what champion you're playing. He's been doing that as well. You know, looking for a pick there, you could do that on any form of champion. Really solid stuff from the WE support this game around. Now looking to use this Baron. Let's see if they can break open a couple of turrets. Kanavi up on that top side. He's stealing away some camps, but needs to come back to defend his base.
What is he doing up there, man? I don't understand. As WE, the siege is on. I mean, sure, you're unlikely to engage, but you still need to be there just in case. As Taeyoon is chunking people out.
Yeah, this turret almost goes down. Got one more cannon minion coming in. As soon as that gets baroned up, you'd like to think that the turret's going to fall. And Vampire, by hook or by crook, leads the charge, takes the turret himself.
I'll do it myself.
Stand behind me, he says. And the rest of the team march forward, take down the inhibitor as well. And WE have taken an inhibitor from our Demacia Cup finalists.
Yeah, listen, Team WE, they are playing their hearts out in this game. 35 minutes, a couple of Barons for themselves. Right now, things are looking pretty good. 369. He's done a great job of making sure there's not many waves for WE to play on.
No, that's very true. And I think that for the most part, that's what's keeping WE from just rolling them through with this Baron. They've managed to take down that bot inhibitor, and that's going to be very important. That's obviously something they're going to look to work back on when this Baron spawns once again. But also, I think that's Elder's icon that is in the top right there. 1 minute and 10 seconds.
Goodness.
Before that spawns in. Again, this
second
Elder icon.
Of the season, right?
Second Elder?
Yeah, second Elder of the season.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah, I think.
I haven't been keeping up with the numbers, I'm going to be honest.
Listen, I'm not completely caught up on everything, but I recall the other day that's something that I heard, that we had one, so I'm saying this is number 2. If I'm wrong, well I'm wrong.
Cool.
That's fine. I've been wrong.
No, we'll say it with chest. 369.
Hell yeah.
Is he caught? Are there people there?
Fine?
Are the observers lying? No.
Okay.
Well, yes, but no.
30 seconds until this Elder spawns. If they could make a play onto 369, that would be absolutely fantastic. At least try to prevent him from getting that Narbar back up once he goes mini. You see he's getting flanked on here by Karis, getting chunked. He's trying to leap out that big slow, but Karis will not be able to chase any further.
Can I introduce you to Cloud Soul? 369 walks away. And is absolutely fine. Now, In Between Worlds is down. Elder spawns in 5 seconds. That is a massive ulti used that actually WE aren't going to have access to. So all of that big AoE damage that they would have expected from their Aurora now on a bit of a cooldown. Granted, he's level 18, has got a decent amount of cooldown already, so it won't be too long, but definitely worth mentioning that without that, there's a window for top esports to look for something.
Yeah, and they have to. Karis has been doing the most in this game, and he's already chunking out Kanavi to half HP. There's just nothing they can do. They're not grouped up. JackeyLove's in the mid lane, just allowing time for Between Worlds to come back up.
But what's happening on this top side, right? We talked about the split push pressure that 369 can put down. In that mini Gnar, he's kiting out Q quite easily. And as he's got this Mega Gnar now, might look to go for a bit more of an all-in.
Oh, see the picture-in-picture, just a little bit back and forth between the top laners. Between Worlds is back up for Karis, so all's well that ends well, as WE certainly in a position of power here. It's a matter of who will blink first. See Kanavi heading up to the top side here. Oh, everybody's still localized around the mid lane for WE.
And this is one of the things that I think top esports have done very well. 369 pushed out that top wave. You talked about it way long ago, before they had committed to a siege with the Baron, before WE had committed to a siege with that Baron. So it incentivized them to go bot lane, where they would be easily able to deal with a bot wave that is pushing into them. You can see 369 is able to handle that bot wave. Creme was as well.
Tianzhen going in with a double knockup. JackeyLove trying to get some space and stay alive. They turn onto Creme. He's alone. He has to pull away. Here comes 369. Does have that Mega Gnar available. Now the question is, will he be able to get in and get a good one off? He's trying to get in. They're grouped up, but not against a wall. Very smart move by WE.
Top use Ghost from Creme, but other than that, and Kanavi's flash.
They're ripping Elder here. And maybe just trying to bait things out. Here comes 369. Big knock to the side. There's the bullet time. It does a lot, but only to one target. Tianzhen, though, is very low. The Dragon has reset. That's okay. They've got damage to spare. WE needs to find a way back in. 7,000 HP. Tianzhen is ready to go in. The chunks and the damage are happening. Crisp gets to the back line. What's going to happen here? There's the Between Worlds doing a lot of damage. And the Dragon is secured by JackeyLove. And the executes are going to start coming through. See ya later, Vampire. Blasted away by the Dragon's breath as TES has broken the game.
For 40 minutes, WE contested top esports, but at that break point around the Dragon, top come up clutch. Neither Kanavi nor Tianzhen could take down the Elder. It came down to JackeyLove to take it out, and that gave them the opportunity, that gave them the fight, and that is going to give them the Baron as well.
JackeyLove making up for getting picked that resulted in that Baron. He is the one that secures the Elder Dragon, and now TES is in the driver's seat. Can WE stop this? They have fought so hard to stay in this game, Roodood. 40 minutes in. Take a look at this replay. What are you seeing out here, man? What a fight.
Yeah, so Taeyoon goes in over the pit and then realizes, mistake was made. But he's just used both of his mobility spells. Crisp goes over the wall, knocks up Taeyoon, and yes, he gets melted to a cinder, but it opens up Creme to get into that backline, wreak havoc. And as soon as the secure on the Elder comes through, top esports know they're going to win that fight. It could have been completely different. There's absolutely a world where if Tianzhen picks up that objective, it's top who are running for the hills. But that wasn't the case, and it's top esports that get to now use the duo of Baron and Elder to try and close this game out, and that should be the goal.
Taeyoon didn't have that miscue. You know, perhaps we're talking about an entirely different fight. He's going to use that as a real, but it's not dealing as much damage as it was before because TES has gotten their items and the siege is on to the Nexus turrets. 369 has been chunked, but he's just fine. Creme is pushing in the mid lane here. WE just trying to keep TES at arm's length.
I've got 30 seconds on the Elder buff still, so top esports with plenty of time to try and make things happen. They're teleporting in once again, seeing how many of these inhibitors they can take down, and I think that last-ditch effort, use Crisp, Unbreakable Will, let's go diving!
Creme's gonna walk up, and here's the bullet time, and Vampire's getting eviscerated. Cube's got a flash into the fountain as the first turret's gonna fall. 369 shield procs. There's the Between Worlds trying to get as much damage in as he can, but Tianzhen is blasted away. Down go the members of WE as the execute from the Elder Dragon rings true, and TES stay in it, and they managed to take a 2-0 series lead.
The score may read 2-0, Yanni, but that game was anything but convincing. WE had such a good chance. It came down to the wire, a flip at an Elder Drake of all things. And WE had broken open the base of top. They'd taken a bot inhibitor, had Nexus turrets under siege, but top esports, they stood firm, they held true, and they were able to weather the storm for long enough until finally Creme could come online. The misfortune damage that we knew was going to be present managed to ring through, and they found themselves the teamfight win they needed. And I loved that they're engaged. They came through at the very end there. Okay, we need to go in with this Elder. How are we going to do that? The one support in the game, it feels like, that could have engaged that so beautifully is just have Alistair with his ulti on, taking 60% reduced damage, and just start any form of a fight.
Yeah, it is so rough there for WE. I love a good underdog story, man, and I was like, oh man, they might be able to do it. They might be able to make this a 1-1 series, but ultimately we're not able to get the job done. Cracking under the pressure a little bit was Taeyoon there. That's so heartbreaking, man. You, as an 80 carry purveyor yourself, it's like,
yeah.
I don't know what he saw, but he saw it, and he was like, let me go get it.
Yeah, that might haunt him, honestly, because those are the things that you do, and you think, okay,
why did I do that?
That's going to be an issue, and then it is immediately an issue, and then the consequences of that obviously very, very present. But the issue becomes sort of when the Elder goes against you. Does your E actually matter that you did that? Is that what cost you the game? Well, it wasn't helping you, so it's something that you could have done differently. But it was really just that the Elder went down, and it went in favor of top. Had it have gone the other way, like I say, I think that fight is completely different. But so far, top esports coming up in the clutch, that pressure factor that they've got did what it needed to.
Without a doubt, Roodood. And I mean, let's give it up for JackeyLove there, securing that Elder Dragon. Don't know how the hell he got it, man. That's the dream whenever you're not playing jungle. You're like, all right, my jungler misses the smite. I'm going to somehow pick it up. It feels like a little bit of a scrum every single time, where it's like, all right, who's going to come up with this objective? And, like I said, he may have taketh away earlier in the game, but he certainly giveth, and was a big reason why TES was able to get the dub. And big respect to WE, though.
Yeah, I think that they deserve that, and I think that we'll get to see a gold graph in a little bit of time. We'll get the post game highlights or post game rundown of how that game went, and we'll get the roller coaster going. It's not that steady arc rising up a hill that we had in game number 1. It'll be a little bit more topsy turvy in this instance, and honestly, the fact that we got to see Vampire performing in this game as well really felt good. Even in that final fight, he's blocking the bullet time quite considerably, but the catch out onto JackeyLove in the mid game was what started WE going in that direction. They catch out JackeyLove, they take the Baron. With that Baron, they move into the bot side, break open the inhibitor, and there were some really good sequences of plays from WE that we can look to have in games with really close matchups, because these two teams weren't expected to have a close series, weren't expected really to have a close game, but that's what we've been treated to in game number 2.
Yeah, Vampire really said new year, new me, bro. Like, he really showed up in that game, and I'm really excited to see what he's going to pull out in game 3 and to see his impact on that game. Like, I hate that I'm already, like, looking toward game 3, but I want to see more of Team WE after that one, because they showed that they can take a team like TES to the absolute limit, and you have to be so happy if you were the WE staff, despite the fact they did not win that game. Obviously, you're going to be much happier with a win, but you can look and you can be like, our guys can get it done.
Yeah, our record may say this, but this is what we actually know we can do. And I think that that's something that can be so powerful for a team as well, is the knowledge that you could have done stuff. And that really does go quite far. You can look at Taeyoon's damage here in this game, the most for the entirety of the Rift. And yes, Creme and 369 were pumping their own damage out as well, but you really do get to see here with the gold difference as well. It was very topsy-turvy throughout pretty much the duration.
I will say, it felt like as the fights went on, Karis was able to do less and less. It felt like TES, like a lot of their carry members, specifically Creme, really shifted their focus to trying to take him out of fights. And even 369 was bearing down on him at that last fight after the Elder was done. It felt like he was able to get off his ultimate, but no other spells, because I'm really surprised that he finished with such low damage. I hate to say that 36k is low, but compared to what he was doing earlier, right, it's night and day.
No, I mean, it absolutely is. And it's a good thing then that, we get to see things like Creme and 369 starting to step up and build up the rest of that we were looking towards. And I think that in this game as well, you'd mentioned that we were probably seeing a little bit of lacking from Kanavi, which going into game number 3 is something that we should absolutely be looking to try and pick our eyes out of, and sort of see if Kanavi can return to game 1, because game 1 was a completely different beast, knew exactly where he was going, what he was doing, and importantly, how he was going to do it.
Yeah, well, that's true, Roodood, honestly. Nothing more to say than that. Now, my question to you, who do you think deserves the MVP? Are you a numbers MVP guy, or are you a plays MVP guy?
Oh, I'm a vibes MVP. I'm a vibes. It's Pogs, isn't it? Player of the game. I'm a vibes player. Oh,
yeah.
Player. It's like, and weirdly, it's JackeyLove.
That's what I was gonna say. He secured the Elder. Like, what more can you say?
Elder. That or 369. I will say I think 369 had a phenomenal game that will have gone largely under the radar, but I think that those are my 2 votes. If you're thinking of purely clutch factor, I can make arguments for both, because if it's purely clutch, JackeyLove got the Elder, which won them the game. It's plain and simple. In a game like that, it's whoever does the snap thing that wins you the match, and I think that that's your player of the game for me. If you're talking about consistency and who provided the most for the largest amount of the game, actually 369 wins it for me.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one, just because I think that these impactful plays are really so important. There was a game a couple days ago.
And it comes down to your criteria here.
I can't remember what game it was. But there was, I think it was Hoya on Poppy, made really sick plays to prevent a Baron from being taken and to solo win a fight. And it's like, yeah, you know, he didn't have the greatest stat sheet. He's playing Poppy, but he made big plays, and he should have gotten the player of the game for that. That's why I'm like a JackeyLove MVP kind of guy for this one. I'm glad we're in agreement for player of the game.
Depends on your criteria, right, at the end of the day. And I think that everybody's going to have different criteria for their player of the games, for their MVPs, post-split, end of games, what have you, right? All of those things do come down to personal indicators. And it's good that we get to see a little bit of a glimpse of what we personally end up thinking are the important parts, really.
Yeah, and wow, what a game that we just witnessed, man. That's got to be so backbreaking for WE, though. I mean, you're so close, just not able to get it done. I mean, you know, obviously, like we mentioned earlier, the staff is probably like, yeah, you know what, this is fine, we made good decisions, but the players, and 369 gonna get the player of the game for this one. Listen, no problems with that, as we mentioned.
Yeah, absolutely. I think firm respect, really, for the fact that 369 gets this. Happy with the choice that's been made, as he was just constantly controlling that side lane. I think that without that, the game looks entirely different, and that's just something else that you have to consider, is if 369 wasn't permanently pushing and constantly had prior over cube, this game does look completely different. So the fact that he's able to come in, and maybe his team fights weren't the most outstanding thing in the world, but they were good enough to pass the check, the power in the side lane, and then how incredibly powerful he was coming into the fights, was enough cause for concern for WE that they ended up having to dedicate resources or dedicate not enough to deal with him.
Yeah, the wave management by him was really, really clutch to stifle the rest of that Baron push. That's something that's really going to go under the radar, and I hope at least somebody, when voting for him for player of the game, considered that, and how huge that was, because, you know, 1 inhibitor down, you can deal with that. It's hard, but you can deal with it. 2 inhibitors down is very, very difficult. You're stuck in your base the entire time. So, you know, that's again, something that really went under the radar, but we're really happy that he managed to get the MVP. Sorry, JackeyLove, you still deserved it, but, you know, not too much you can do. Yeah, them's the break. Sometimes your teammate just does a little bit more than you. Well, that'll do it for the second game of the series, which means we are going to run to a break. And when we return, we could give you what might be the final draft of the evening, with TES looking for a clean 3-0, but Team WE after that second game feeling a little supercharged. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you soon.